Adil, I think we can start. Hello? Just give us a minute, yeah? All right. Malvika, go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Malvika Kaushik, and this webinar is hosted by ISTE, or Indian Society for Technical Education, which is a national professional non-profit society that was first started in 1941. ISTE NITK was one of the first exclusive technical clubs of NITK. Today, we'd like to welcome Ajay Singh, co-founder and CIO of DLT Labs. Prior to creating DLT Labs, he worked for TCS, BNP Paribas, and Synchron. He's passionate about blockchain and Bitcoin, and he's always on the lookout for new innovations. Please join us in welcoming Ajay Singh and his team, who will be conducting today's webinar on blockchain and Web 3.0. DLT is also the title sponsor for the annual ISTE event, which is Transcend. Transcend is the flagship technical event hosted by ISTE. During the webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them up in the chat box session for our Q&A session, and your queries will be cleared after the event. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Malvika, and welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to this particular webinar, and thanks NITK for hosting such a lovely technology fest, which is Transcend, and thanks also for ISTE for being such a promoter of technology. So to start with, I may drop down very quickly because I have some other meetings to attend, but my colleague Purushottam also is here, who will be taking ahead this webinar with me. And to start with, I will just try to first give you certain brief introduction about what DLT Labs is, what we are doing. So I am one of the co-founder of DLT Labs. We are an enterprise leader in blockchain space, and we are building products around business enability as well as technology enability. So we have two divisions of products which we have developed and which are getting used at enterprise level in blockchain space. At a very core, whatever we are developing, whatever product we have developed is under a very underlying philosophy that two businesses can only prosper, or a business or an organization can only prosper and succeed if it is able to in a successful way able to collaborate with other businesses and organizations. And in today's world, anything related to collaboration at deep down drills into data sharing of distributed data. So whenever there is a distributed data, it leads to certain problems. The major peril of these problem statement can be data transparency, data privacy, data integrity, and data auditability. And we feel that in current technology subset or current technology set, whatever is available, blockchain is a technology which solves these problems in most beautiful and most elegant fashion. And you can achieve same by other technologies by keep on adding facade of solving the problem, but actually it is not solving a problem. It is just a make feel of the thing that okay, the problem has been solved. But blockchain is a technology which handles these things at a very core, at a very native layer, and solves the problem in totality. So as the businesses grow, complexity increase, your solution does not fail you. So that is where we have developed a platform which has business enabler products. One of the marquee products is currently getting used by Fortune 1 company, Walmart, which is trying to solve their problem of track and trace. It is solving their problem of invoice reconciling, as well as it is getting used by uh, other clients. One of our client is from government of Malaysia, which is their airport authority, which is using the same product, which is configured to solve problem around air refueling. Similarly, we are solving the problem of mineral extraction and how to track and trace mineral extraction and how to attribute where the mineral which is getting extracted, and trying to solve the problem where the source and the trace of mineral is properly recorded on a distributed ledger in an auditable fashion, which can be put forward for any compliances. One of the very biggest, larger mining company tech is using that particular solution. Purushottam, it will be great if you can start the presentation. And Purushottam here will be taking it forward, presentations around, we will be telling certain things about Blockchain 101, what are the nitty-gritties and what are the essential things in blockchain technology which makes it so great, as well as also he will try to delve deeper into what a blockchain career looks like. And he will also give a particular view into one of our product, which is a technology enabler product known as DL Unifi. So Purushottam, please go ahead. I am there for a few more minutes and I will drop off after them. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining.
Guys, first of all, good evening. Can you confirm if you can see my screen? Guys, I am audible?
Yeah, Purushottam. Yes. Your screen was also visible. Please go ahead.
So, Ajay, before you drop off, you want to cover this slide, or shall I go ahead with?
Yeah. So you can just present that slide. I will just immediately let everyone know. So this is a very brief snapshot of what we have achieved, what we have been doing. So from company's location and partner perspective, we are all over the globe currently. We are 400 plus employees. We have partnership with Deloitte, Accenture, MasterCard. We have partnership with a lot of SIs like Tech Mahindra. Also, we are featured with all the logos which are able to see, from Harvard Business Review to Forbes. We also contribute a lot into open source and promote open source contribution via collaboration with Hyperledger Foundation, Linux Foundation. So that is all. There are a lot of logos which are visible and which portrays how DLT Labs has been a global in enterprise blockchain space.
Yeah. So thank you, Ajay, for introducing us what is DLT Labs, what it does, right? So, friends, what we will do today is we have 4 things to cover. We will go into Blockchain 101. It will be a very cursory introduction to Blockchain and Web 3.0. Then we will go into what it look like, right, to work in a blockchain industry. Then we go into DL Unifi. It's one of our platform, right, where you can build blockchain and Web 3.0 applications. And then last, we will open up a few community that we are running. There you can learn things, right? You can build collaboration within the community, and then we can grow together, right? So these are the 4 things we will cover. And given this is a very small group, so I will not do a monologue, right? We can have a conversation also, right? And in between, if you want to interrupt or stop me and have any question, and if I know the answer, I will certainly answer those questions. Okay. Any question before I start? Okay. So I will.
No, sir.
Thank you. So, so we will start with what is blockchain, right? So I think before blockchain, the terminology itself, came mainstream. We came to know about Bitcoin, right? So this thing started to disrupt around 2010, a year before actually 2010, and then people started to know what Bitcoin is, what is trying to solve, right? But the underlying technology that Bitcoin used at that point of time was blockchain, right? And this is where for academia, for enterprise, this technology is so beautiful, they wanted to adopt it, right? So we need to know what is this blockchain, correct? So if I have to define it, right, in a layman terms, blockchain is an open distributed ledger that can record transaction between 2 parties or multiple parties in a verifiable and permanent way, right? How many of you know what is a ledger? Okay, so so if I have to define it, right, anytime say you are doing a transaction, someone is maintaining a ledger on your behalf, right? It is, in this case, in the current case, it is the bank who maintains the ledger, correct? It's the central authority who clear your transaction, right, and update the state of the ledger. So in India, you have say now UPI and other things. Still, if you go to West, just clearing the transactions, right, it takes a few days or to few hours before it actually cleared by the central authority, right? So in this world where we are dealing with digital technology, the time it takes, right, either it's hours or days, it should be faster, right? So this is where this technology at first came into being, right? So blockchain is an open distributed ledger, right? What it means is there is no central authority as such, right? So it means there are participants, and each participants maintain its own copy of data, right? And there is a mechanism by which they say my copy is in the same state that other participant copy is, right? So if everyone has the same copy and there is no authority, then you can say my data is in is in compliant with every other participant, right? So this is very important concept, and it has multiple use cases also, right? So I will try to explain blockchain with use case, then the definition itself, right? So how blockchain work, right? So if I'm able to explain this, this will help you understand how it is different from my current way of doing a transaction, right? So in this case, say you are a user, right? You are doing a transaction, right? A transaction can be anything. Take an example where you are moving a certain currency, right, from one account to another account. So what you are doing is basically you are sending a transaction, right? You are basically signing a transaction, and that transaction sits in a block, right? So that block represent your transaction, right? So there are multiple blockchains in the market, and they have a different way of basically verifying a transaction and storing a transaction in a ledger, right? But this is at very high level. This is the core principle. Things differs, but this is how most of the blockchain basically verify a transaction and commit a transaction in their own ledger, right? So once a user do a transaction, say they have some private keys, right? Many of you might be aware about wallets, right? Where you keep your cryptocurrency. Those, especially those who are in this field, right? So those wallets are nothing but basically your way to store your identities, right? So that identities in this form is not username and password, but these digital identities have a key, in most of the cases, a public key that is visible to everyone, right? So that public key basically identify you on a blockchain, and the private key, right? So this private key is a special key that is used to basically sign transaction, right? So when you sign a transaction with your key, then only then you are basically verified by the blockchain network, right? That this transaction is actually signed by the person, right, who claims is he or she. And then once transaction is verified, it is being written on a block, right? So now you have requested a transaction, basically signed a transaction, then that transaction goes in a block. Now this block is broadcasted to all the nodes, right? So this is where the difference comes in. So currently, if I do a transaction, say on a SDFC net banking portal, so what I will do is I am doing a transaction between myself and the server that is hosted by the SDFC, right? But in this case, blockchain is a network of multiple nodes, right? And each of these nodes are independent nodes, right? And these nodes maintain their own states, right? So if I am doing a transaction, all these nodes will be aware, okay, there is a transaction coming to the network, and everyone will validate the block, right? When I say validate the block, basically it will verify the transaction. That transaction is correct. It passes all the rules that is written in a contract. I will come to the contract later. So once that verification is done by all the nodes, then they will commit this block to the actual chain, right? So everyone has a ledger where they maintain a chain of all the blocks, right? So ledger is basically that system where you have a chain of blocks, right? So when everyone approves that yes, this transaction is correct, this transaction is passing all the rules, it's time to write it to the ledger, and then transaction is executed, right? So if you see in this process and compare it with the existing process, right, here there is no intermediary, right? There is no bank who checks, okay, what is the whether if I'm crediting a amount, right, or debiting an amount, whether it's if the recipient account is valid or not, right? Or if the person who is transacting has enough money, right? So all those things, intermediary things are not needed, right? Here everyone knows this user has this much amount of currency in his account, the recipient has this account and it is valid account, then these nodes basically verify and write that block to the chain, right? So in this case there is no need for intermediary, there is no need for commission, right? So all these banks, if you do a credit card transaction, right, so they basically charge you a certain amount, right? So there is a commission also involved, right? So all those things basically changes here, where you are basically doing a transaction on a blockchain, and it is being written to a blockchain in a transparent and open manner, right? So this is a big chain, and this is only one example of the use case, right? I only talked about so banking is one industry, right, where we are seeing this changes happening, and Bitcoin is the one who basically brought up this idea where we can do this transaction of money without institution in place, right? But this is the underlying technology, how blockchain actually works. But the same technology can be used in other domains, right? Whether it's a healthcare, supply chain, right? It's trading. So, right. So basically, this technology is changing the landscape across domain, right? So it is very important to understand how it works, the principle of openness, transparency, and trust, how it can be applied to other domains, right, or other problems. So this is one, but you can think you can solve the problem of governance also, right? You can solve the problems of, say, COVID vaccines, right? You can solve the problem of reconciliation, right? So we will talk about some of these use cases and see how this technology basically applies to different domains, and it is helping and basically changing the landscape of so many problems that we face in multiple domains. Okay. Any questions so far, guys, before I go to the next slide? Okay, so I will take silence as no, but before I move to this, right, there is no need to be shy. Any one of you can interrupt me in between and ask question. And
Sir, we haven't received any questions in the YouTube live comment section yet. So we'll be taking up all the questions at the end.
Sure. Right now, I only went through only one way to look at blockchain, right? Someone submitting a transaction and it is being written on multiple nodes, and every party in the nodes basically agreeing to the state of that transactions, right? If I just take that example and try to see what benefit it provides, it says my transaction cannot be undone, right? Immutable is a word. If I have to define, is anything that is not mutable, right? Anything that is not modifiable becomes immutable, right? So any area or any problem, right, that requires something that it should not be modified, right, then blockchain is a good technology to adopt, right? So immutability is one principle that blockchain brings to the table. Then second principle is shared and distributed. So as I already told, there is no centralized server or authority who is saying your transaction is correct or incorrect, right? Your trust is distributed, your data is distributed, even your transaction is broadcasted across the network, right? So in this case, there is no central authority, and there are multiple participants who makes your network or transaction secure and verifiable, right? So that's the second principle. Third is decentralized, right? That is very important pillar. Why? When we are moving from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, you will hear this technology a lot, right? Centralization means where you have one authority to take decision on anything that you do on a network, right? In this case, if you see, anyone can be a participant in the network, right? So assume that you are joining a Bitcoin network, you can be a participant to the network, right? Or if you are joining a Ethereum network, it's another blockchain, then you can always join it as a miner, or you can join as a user who wants to interact with the network, right? So there is no authority as such, right? So this is where this decentralization concept or principle is coming, uh, right? How it is more secure? It basically uses a lot of cryptographic advancement that is already we have seen in past decades. Using that cryptographic enhancement, they are basically writing the data in a cryptic way and creating a chain, right? So one chain, two chain, one block, two block, three block, right? So if someone have to basically reverse something, right? So they have to do a hell lot of computation, right? And they have to revert everything from current block to the block where the network started, right? So it's theoretically impossible. So this is where we are saying it is more secured. Then increase network capacity, right? So in a centralized world, if I take out the centralized server, then your network is gone, right? In this case, if you have say thousands of network participants, even if someone take out say 10 nodes, then you are still online, right? Then you are still able to communicate between the network, right? So this is very important aspect. There can't be a fraud, right? So network is alive, up and alive all the time. Then you have say faster settlement, right? I already gave example. If you go to west, especially US, the wire transfer takes 2 to 3 days, right? In India, we know that UPI, you just use it and then transfer happen within seconds, right? It's good. But in the west, still such some of those settlements takes many days, right? It's not only about the transaction of money. There are transaction of asset, there are transaction of commodities, right? That has its own challenges, right? So you cannot do a settlement within second until unless you have something something very automated, right? With a trust, with immutability and transparency, right? So this is where blockchain comes very handy. The technology comes very handy, and it can be applied to multiple problems if I know which of these principle I can fit it into those kind of problems. Uh, any question on this? I think
Yeah,
you said you will do
so
it in the last.
received a question.
Mhm.
It's does the this is from Jyoti Rathi.
Mhm.
She's asked if the same happens in permission. Like, can any miner in permission also approve of the validating the block?
So this I will cover in this slide. So I said about public blockchain so far, right? I have not delved into private blockchains, right? So public blockchain like Bitcoins, right? Anyone can create account there, right? And start doing the transaction. Similarly with Ethereum, right? You you own the wallet and start talking to the networks. But of uh, think of a problem, right? Where this openness is not required, right? Just take an example of say Amazon, right? So Amazon, or say and take an example of any retail, right? Say Walmart, right? So Walmart has multiple retail shops across globe, right? And they are being filled by these retail item or grocery items, right? On say daily basis. So some of these items are perishable, right? Say milk is perishable, or fruits and vegetables are perishable, right? So those vendors, right, who are bringing these stuffs to the market, if they are delayed, right, so there should be a punishment, right? What it means is if someone brings 20% perishable item, then that should be deducted from the vendor itself, because the vendor's duty to bring that item to the shop in a right time and in the right conditions, right? So to achieve it, say assume Walmart has 80 such kind of a carrier who brings items to the retail shop, right? So if I have to create some kind of a contract between these, I only need this 81 participants. One is the Walmart itself, and then these carriers, right? In this case of a scenario, the participants are fixed, right? 81 participants. I don't need a network where the 82nd person wants to join it, right? So this data is only applicable to the Walmart and the business that it does with other vendors, in this case carriers, right? So this is where the permissioned blockchain comes into the picture, right? Where you cannot join a network at your will. You are joining the network because you are participant of that business, right? So most of the enterprises, even government, you will see they are preferring more of a permissioned blockchain, right? So if I have to give you an example of a permissioned blockchain, one is Hyperledger Fabric. In DLT Labs, we are SME of Hyperledger Fabric. We even contribute to the open source, as Ajay have told it in the start. Also, if you see Hyperledger Fabric, so they have some endorsing nodes, right? Not every node are equal. Some of the node have authority to basically verify the transactions, right? Not every node will verify the transactions. So those authority node will receive the transaction first. When when the authority node approves and verifies the transaction, then it will be broadcast to the other participant in the node, right? So when we move from, say, public blockchain to the private blockchain, the way the participants works, right, it differs. Even authority differs, right? But it has a meaning. As I already gave you an example, if a business talks to 10 other business, another participant which has no game in this network, right, why they will join it, right? So this is where the public blockchain and the permission blockchain come into the picture. I hope I answered that question, and I think I covered this slide also, right? So it's the same thing. What it meant by a public blockchain. If I have to give an example, you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, right? So these kind of networks are public network; anyone can join it, right? But if you see Hyperledger Fabric, it's a permission blockchain. If you see Coda, it's a permission blockchain, right? And there are so many other permission blockchain in development too. So this is the world of public and private blockchain. Any questions so far? Apart from that, any other question that you have received, Malvika?
No, nothing after that, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I have thrown few jargons, right? I basically told what is blockchain, what is block, what is node, what is decentralization, right? But under the hood, how it works, right? If you see Bitcoin, right? It has a one smart contract, right? Smart contract has rules that you can transfer an amount not existing your current balance, right? But that kind of a contract is unilateral in nature, means the complete networks runs on a single smart contract, right? But if you see Ethereum, right? So Ethereum claims that rather than one smart contract, you can write any kind of a smart contract, and then that smart contract can be executed among multiple parties or two parties, right? So what it means is how it changed the landscape is Bitcoin is saying that you can do a transaction from one account to another account, right? That's a one smart contract. But assume if a blockchain network is giving you basically a functionality where you can write your own smart contract, where you can write your own rules, right? And then anyone can be part of that smart contract, right? So assume that I just don't want to deal with transaction of money. I want to basically do some kind of a reconciliation between two parties, right? Or if there is a legal matter, I want to ensure there is a dedicated smart contract around it, right? So this is where Ethereum's come into the picture, where it claims that it not only claims, it actually does, where you can write your own smart contract, where you can write your own rule and execute that rule, and that rule once executed, it will be returned to the ledger, right? The state that or the database that we are talking about, right? So smart contract is the inherent part of blockchain. Anything that happens, right, or someone who writes it to the state or a ledger, it is this smart contract. Bitcoin, it is invisible because it's a single smart contract. But there are other blockchain network, right, where you can write your own rules and you can execute these rules against the network, right? So this is where it is important. It is not solving only the problem of banking. It is solving the problem of DeFi, GameFi, gaming industry, basically healthcare, and so many other things, right? Because you can write your own code, your own rule, and the party who agrees to these rules can start doing transaction on a network, right? So this is where it is important. Okay, um, so I think this so so one thing, if I have to pick it from this slide, right? Previously, who are the party or who authorize the contract, right? Say, assume you have a registrar, right, who do the registry of a land, right? So you still have a third party, the two party who is buying or selling a land is going to a registrar, right? Registrars give them a stamp paper, and then you basically sign it to the contract, right? You're basically moving the property from this to this at a particular price, right? So here you have a central authority who is ensuring your data is moving from one owner to another owner, right? But in this case, if I say your smart contract is that authority, right, it won't be wrong. So your smart contract has a rule, it is transparent, every party can see it, what is that code. And then when a data or ownership of an asset, right, moves from one hand to another hand, it is written on a network ledger, right? So if tomorrow, if someone claims whose property is this, you can always look on the ledger and say, okay, this property is belongs to a person A, right? In previous case, you have that registrar who is writing so many things on multiple ledgers, right? Sometimes they lose the records, right? Sometimes sometimes it's a double entry also, right? A single land, right, can be owned by person A and person B. It's not very uncommon. We face it in our daily life also, right? So there are so many dispute on a single property. So it's very cumbersome. It takes days. It's costly also, right? So this is where this blockchain makes a lot of difference. I don't say this will change the way registry will do, but eventually things will go into that direction, right? So a smart contract is transparent. The ledger is immutable. Once ownership is moved, it cannot be modified, right? And it happens within seconds, right? So this is where smart contracts play a very important role, and this is where blockchain as in carrier, right? You have a smart contract developers who write smart contracts, and this smart contract basically solve the problems, right? So this is very important piece of blockchain. As I say told, right, anything you have to record it. Smart contract is very important. Trading activities, right, where you can trade between multiple people. Smart contract has that rule: what is allowed, what is not allowed, how much is allowed, right? What is a valid transaction or valid trade? Supply chain, mortgage, real estate market, employment arrangement, copyright product protections, healthcare service, even the government voting, right? So this is important. If you have read it, if you are reading the news, right, I think 6-7 months back, government was planning to move their votings to blockchain based technology, right? Currently everyone is crying about that EVM and all those things, right? Whether right or wrong, governments see a value where they see a blockchain more as a more transparent technology and adoption of blockchain in election process, right? So it's not that I'm talking about something that will come 10 years down the line. It is happening right now. Okay. And then insurance and IoT, other domains where it can be used. So so this is very high level. Some of the terminology just I dropped, right, on blockchain. So before I move to Web 3.0, anything on blockchain, guys?
Yes, sir. We have one question. Why is blockchain a trusted approach? That's one of the questions that we received in the
Can you come
YouTube.
again? I think you broke in between.
Why is blockchain a trusted approach?
Okay, so tell me this, right? Uh, so bank is so take a registrar, right? Take that example of registrar itself. I go to, so there are two parties who are going to registrar, right? Registrar can be corrupt. I'm not saying that all registrar are corrupt, but take an example. He is a human, and there is a human tendency to degenerate, right? So assume that registrar is corrupt, right? And then you are trusting that person, where you assume that the the stamp paper you signed, right? It will be logged into their records, right? What if I don't log the ownership transfer from person A to person B in that record, right? But having said that, you still trust that registrar that once you go to that institution will take care of your ownership, right? But that, so in that case, if your institution is corrupt or the person in the institution is corrupt, then you are in then you are lost, right? In this case, what I'm saying is trust happens because the transaction is verified by multiple people, right? There is no registrar who is corrupt in this case, right? Transaction comes over the network. Transactions has certain rules. Those rules are visible to everyone, right? It's transparent. That smart contract is visible to everyone, right? Anyone can see that there is no bugs in the smart contract, and it will work as it is, right? So it's not one party, two parties, right? It will be thousands of the network. In this case, may verify your transaction and write it to the blockchain, right? That is one piece of the trust. Second piece of the trust is no one can modify it, right? The way the transaction in a block, right, are returned to the chain uses cryptographic technology, right? And by some estimates, if you have to say change the data in that network, then you have to, it will take millions and billions of years to reverse the transaction in a single node. And to achieve the complete dominance, you have to take out at least more than 50% of the node, right? That is not going to happen, right? At least no one has proved it till date, and at least I don't see it is happening in few decades until quantum computers come into it, right? Third thing is anything that is written, right, is visible real time, right? So tomorrow, if I say if I move the asset from a point A, person A to person B, and I have some doubts, I can always go to the network and say this asset belongs to him, right? Network will reply this asset belongs to this guy, transferred on this date from this person to this person, right? So this is where the trust come into the picture. There is no authority because of decentralization. It is not immutable because of the technology that is being used, and it is visible, right? It is not visible to only institutions. You don't have to go to the registrar office and say, hey, give me that record. I want to confirm whether that record has been or asset transfer has been moved or not, right? You can directly use the network and say, give me the state of this particular NFT or this particular asset, right? Or the amount of money this particular account has, right? So it's very real time. So I don't see the current. If I see the current trust and the trust that blockchain brings, it's totally two different game altogether. I hope I answered this question. Any other question before I move to this slide?
No, sir, nothing for now.
Okay. So now we are dealing with blockchain, right? And suddenly people started talking about Web 3.0, right? And to be honest, people are still defining what Web 3.0. So I put this graph, right? Try to define Web 3.0. My definition may not be 100% correct, right, in coming years, but I think 70-80% definition will be as it is. So some of the aspect of the definition may vary. So those kids, right, who are coming from 90, they have seen Web 1.0, right? People will have few static pages, right, and where they will post informations and all those things, right? There was no communication as such between. So there was no collaboration, right? People were bringing HTMLs, emails, and all those things, right? So that was the world of Web 1.0, and this is where the web started. Then around 2001 onwards, right? Things started changing. Say YouTube started coming, then you started uploading the content, right? You started collaborating. Twitter came, Instagram came, Facebook came, right? You multiple user in the network, right? Started collaborating, talking to each other, right? And changed the life of a person also, right? And it is not only the social media that is impacted, it is across domains, right? Healthcare have changed, finance have changed, supply chain has changed, governance has changed, right? And now you can do so many things, right? Transfer of money, UPI, You have e-dizzy lockers, right? Even if you go to passport office, the process are so smoothened, right? So that was the world of Web 2.0, but uh, with one aspect that differs in Web 3.0 completely, right? That is information centricity, right? When I say talk about me talking to Facebook, right, creating an account, who owns the data, right? In this case, Facebook owns the data, right? And they dictate what advertisement I see. They dictate my behavior also, right? Because they started giving me suggestion that you may like this post, you may like that post, right? So even if you say government offices, right, once you enter some information, that goes to the government, and government may use that information in the way they want, right? But is it good, right? Maybe it may not be, right? Assume that if we have evolved from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0, we could have evolved in a different way, right? We could have directly adopted decentralization, but that didn't happen. But in the world of Web 3.0, blockchain will be certainly the bedrock of Web 3.0, where we talk about decentralization, right? There may not be another Facebook anymore in Web 3.0, right? It will be there, but it won't be owned by a single person, right? So similarly, anything that is decentralized, that is private and secure, will be part of Web 3.0, right? Not only this, you guys might have heard about metaverse also, correct? So those kind of technology, right, with these principle of decentralization, trust, secure, transparency, privacy, right? So if I bring those technology also, Web 3.0 will move towards that, right? So, and it is happening. It is not that it is not happening. It may not be mainstream today in India, but you can see it across, right? If you see this slide, there are so many things already there. There is a Steemit, there is a exchange, right? Currently, exchange is owned by BSC and NSE and Nasdaq and whatnot. Then you have a browser, decentralized browser, right? Then you have a chat servers, correct? Then even the storage, right? Filecoin is one of the example, right? And there are so many social media that are adopting this principle of decentralization, correct? And then you have insurance, banking, remote jobs, right? Even the way the jobs are given, right? It decentralized. You execute something, right? You have been given a task, you execute that task, money will be automatically transferred with no intermediary in place, right? So I mean, there is no better time, right, to adopt blockchain than today, right? So this is where Web3 is coming, is evolving, and blockchain is bedrock of that evolution. Metaverse, AI, IoT, some will be part of it, some may not be part of it, but Web 3.0 is already started, and I hope many of you guys, right, mainstream, right? There is always a first mover advantage, and as I said, there is no better time than today to adopt blockchain and Web 3.0. Any questions so far? I'm done with blockchain and Web 3.0, and then one slide on career, and then few other stuffs.
No, so we'll be taking up questions at the end of the webinar.
Okay, so I mean, some of you are students here, right? And you must be scratching your head why blockchain, right? So me being in this industry can every time a new technology comes in, right, or a new disruption comes in, it creates employment, and that kind of employment requires a certain skill set, right? And all these new skill sets are hot, right? What I mean by saying just hot, right? So assume that you have a Java as a technology. There is already a millions of Java developers, right? And there are certainly a demand. I'm not saying there is no demand, right? But this new skill set, many institutions are adopting this new technology of blockchain, but the market don't have that skill set, right? So what will happen? So in this case, this career becomes very lucrative. You will be given very fat salary, right? And this is where I am saying, for a student, rather than going towards a traditional technology, you can always think of these alternatives where it's not only the money, but going forward, this kind of technology will rule the planet, right? Say for next 2-3 decades, right? So this is where you need to bring these skill set, right? Some of these skill set is, say, blockchain developer, right? You can saying like a Java developer or JavaScript developer or React developer or Angular developer, start saying I'm a blockchain developer, right? So when you say blockchain developers, you either can go into building smart contracts, right? So Ethereum smart contract developer in Solidity, right? So you have to upgrade your skills there. Then you can become a blockchain architect, right? So you say, I know how blockchain works and I can basically design any system, right? So if you are experienced in blockchain, then you can place yourself as a blockchain architect. Then if you go into the project management role, right, you can position yourself as a blockchain project manager. The way the UX is designed, right, for DApps is different from Web 2.0 to this Web 3.0. Those who are interested in designing, they can go into blockchain specific UX design, right? Similarly, the needs of quality engineers, right, or a legal person differs, right? So this is where blockchain development community comes into the picture. So you can pick any of these skills and position yourself based on your current position in the corporate life, or if you are a student, which attracts you more, right? You can start upgrading or ramping up your skills. Then second is a blockchain writer. I have seen many people making career as a writer in technology field, right? And I have seen many influencer now with thousands of followers and tens of thousands of followers writing about blockchain stuff, right? And I think it again become a lucrative job of being an influencer, right? Where you can reach out to thousands of people by writing few hundreds of words, right? And that's another skill set you can bring. Third is community manager, right? So we have seen it, most of these projects are community driven, right? So if you see how startups are building, they are not building in traditional ways, right? It is not 4 or 5 people, they know each other, work in cubicle spaces and build the startup. This is not happening, right? So this is the another change that is happening in the community. These guys comes to say Telegram, these guys comes to say Discord, right? They may not know each other, and they start working on a project, right? But this community needs a person who can manage it, right? So this is where these community manager roles comes into the picture. I have seen many job posting from big techs around this community manager, right? So if you are into that kind of if you are that kind of a hustler, right, where you can bring people, manage community, runs a project, this is another area. Crypto, right? I mean, I spoke mostly on blockchain, but the first application of blockchain was crypto, and I have seen many making careers in crypto journalists, right? You say this crypto is good, bad, profile, creating profile of the crypto, writing, predicting the crypto prices, and so on and so forth, right? So like the people in current, if I have to draw a parallel, right, like Rakesh Jhunjhunwala talking about which is good stock, which is a bad stock. Similarly, these crypto journalists can write about those crypto and create their own fan following, right? So so this is career in blockchain. If I have to put a figure, I have seen average salary. I mean, I will quote US figure. Say it goes from say I mean 70-80,000 dollars to $500,000 also to entry level blockchain developer to medium level blockchain developers, right? And it goes upwards, right? If you are senior at executive level, the sky is the limit, right? So as I told, many of these startups are getting funded millions of dollars, right? So and where they will spend this money, right? They will spend this money on people, right? So this is where you are seeing people getting or even the freshers, right, who are getting into these startups or these blockchain organization, they are getting very good compensation, right? So any question on the career part, guys, before I move to DL Unify?
Yes, sir. We've got one question.
Mhm.
Isn't a private blockchain just a glorified database? Like at the end, there's no transparency to the public, nor is there a consensus. The enabler has the right to edit, so it isn't immutable either.
No. So I got it. That question is coming, I guess, because you have not seen private blockchain internal working, right? Take an example. Take the same example of Walmart, right? So in this case, what is happening is you have a Walmart and 10 carriers, right? So that 10 carriers is basically 10 organizations, right? So when you decide who are the participants, where they will endorse whether a transaction is verified or not, right? So there can be a rule which define the participant A, B, C, D, E, right? Until unless you don't agree to that kind of rule, there is no network, right? Only when you agree to that rules, then you are participating in the network, right? And that rules basically you will be part of consensus also. It is not that there is no consensus. There is actually a consensus. Walmart, say in this example, I'm taking just an example, right? I'm not saying this is how Walmart works, but say the consensus is there among Walmart and all the participants, right? All the organization that is there, right? Until unless all those organizations say agrees, assuming they are part of that consensus mechanism or consensus authority, until unless all of them agrees to that transaction, it will not make it to the network database, right? So it's not a glorified database. Current database is a dummy where you do the transaction and then someone will write that transaction to the file system, right? In this case, consensus is there. Saying that consensus is not part of it is wrong. But only thing is consensus will have certain rules, right? Who are part of who is part of that consensus mechanism or not, right? So business who thinks those rules are unfavorable, they will not be part of it, right? They are joining the network because they know they have a say in consensus, what is true and what is not true, right? So this is where the difference, right? Your current database is a dummy database authorized by one user. Some server have some credential talking to database and then write it to the database. But blockchain principle, most of the principle, right, of blockchain still works in the private world also, private blockchain also. Any other question, guys?
No, so we'll be taking it up at the end.
Okay. Okay, so this is what DLT Labs offers you, right? So I will send you two links, guys. One is this DL Unify. So DL Unify is our platform, right? So what we are doing it. So what Ajay told it, right? They have one platform, primary platform, not primary. I mean, one of the key platform that they have given to customer like Walmarts and others. But we have a separate platform for developers also, right? Specifically for developers. When I say developers, those developers can be part of a startup, those developers can be part of enterprises, and it makes blockchain development very, very easy. You can basically go to this link, https then dlunify.dltlabs.com. Again, dlunify.dltlabs.com. You can register for the early access, right? Once we receive your request, we will approve your request, right? Currently there is approval mechanism in place. In future it will not be there. We just want, it's a early access, right? So we just want to see the registration is uh, correct, right? And so all those participants of this webinar or those who will be joining later, right? They can use this dlunify.dltlabs.com. You will see a early access button on the left side. Just click on it, and then we will ask you information, 4 or 5 fields, right? We will not bore you with multiple boring fields there, right? Once you register, we will approve it, and you will get a verification mail, and you can use our platform. And this is where our platform looks. This is an old snapshot. New platform has more and more products and services onboarded. some of these things, right, that you want to learn, there is a learn to build tutorials, right? So these tutorials are either text based or video based. So if something you want to learn about any of the product that we have in DL Unify, you can use these tutorials, right? So what we have, right? So we are building so many things, and every quarter we push 4 or 5 new things into the platform, right? So I will start with say DL Unify itself, right? The center piece that you are seeing, DL Unify, it's a gateway of everything that we are building, right? Some of these things, right? I will cover, say, DL Ops. Okay. Currently, DL Ops is named DL Gateway. In future, we will change it to DL Ops. We provide DL code, right? So DL code is what? So we are providing you a remote desktop where we have already set up some of blockchain tools, right? Currently, you don't have to set up 100 things on your local desktop. You can go to DL code, right? You can launch your own desktop. That desktop is nothing but comes with a web ID, right? And this web ID is Visual Studio Code on the web, basically. Here we have given you two extension for Fabric development and extension for Ethereum development, right? So Fabric extension is developed by us, and there is some customization on our remix. So those who have done a remix Ethereum development, they are aware about this extension, remix extension, right? Also, it comes up with the CLI. Those who are doing a development of, say, Ethereum, they know about Truffle CLI. DL Unify has its own CLI called Ruffle at this point of time. In future, we will change the name. You can use, so we give this remote desktop with these environment and ecosystem tools, developer ecosystem tools off the shelf, right? So you don't have to download 1,000 things, install thousands things, incompatibility and all those things, right? Use your remote desktop, use the ID and start building from the go, right? Then we are building DL pipeline. It will come in few weeks. So currently, those who are part of corporate, they already know what the pipelines are. Those who are student may not have come across DevOps, right? It's basically an automated way where you can test your code base, where you can run security scan on the code base, where you can build it, deploy it, and release it, right? So it makes your project development to release very easy. So we are building our own automated system that is DL pipeline that will be available in few weeks, right? If I move to the right of DL Unify, this is the core piece. Actually, I should have started with the orchestrator. So if I say just launch your own Hyperledger Fabric network, right? There are two issues with that. Understanding the Fabric network and time it takes to launch a Fabric network, right, is very tedious. You may spend days and days understanding the network itself and then launching it and leave maintaining it, right? Those are activities should not be done by the developer or the business, right? That should be something that should be given off the shelf, right? So this is where we have this product, DL Orchestrator, where we are launching the Fabric network or Ethereum node or Element DB, right? And we are onboarding more blockchains like Polygon, Substrate, Solana, and others will come in coming quarters, right? So this is where this product is, where you can go define your configuration of the network of the node, and it is available with you, right? Once it is available, you can build application against that network. Then I covered DL Ops already. Let's move to DL Code. DL Explorer. We have given you network, right? But if we don't give you Explorer, right, how you will see what is the state of the network, right? How will you see whether your transaction has been passed or it is stuck, right, or it is in queue? How will you see the state, right? I said the state is visible to everyone, right? So you need some kind of a visualization tool. So this is where we developed our own visualization tool, in this case Ethereum Explorer. For Fabric, we have a Fabric Explorer, right? So you can use this visualization tool to basically see the activity that is happening on the network. Those who are coming from Ethereum background, they are already aware about Etherscan. Etherscan is good, but start using this Ethereum Explorer, you find so many new things that other guys don't provide, right? Similarly, go with the Fabric Explorer. It is unparalleled. If you are building something on Fabric, then it's your go-to visualization tool, right? Then we are building other stuffs also. We talk about network, we talk about visualization, we talk about operations like DL code and DL pipeline. What about storage, right? So this is where we are building the Web 3.0 stack. We are giving you a storage, a decentralized storage, right? Even storage is not centralized, say by Google Drive or Box, right? The storage is decentralized in 3.0 world. So this is where we have built our solution on IPFS, also CDN, right? CDN is basically content delivery network. Your node content delivery network works is, assume I am watching something on Netflix, right? My content is not delivered from US, right? It is delivered from somewhere near my location, right? Maybe in Delhi or Mumbai or somewhere else. So this is where we are building Web 3.0 stack. We will add more and more product in Web 3.0, right? But there are so many things already there. Apart from that, I want to go into say DL Unify CLI. We are building this CLI uh, so that anything that we are building, right, in DL Unify can be accessible via CLI. We started with one of CLI for Ethereum, Ruffle CLI, right? So you can create any Ethereum project, you can compile it, you can deploy it on our network, right? Then we have Visual Studio Code extension. We know those who are using Visual Studio Code as their ID. These extensions come very handy, right? So we are building these extension where you can talk to orchestrator, where you can build your project in a very seamless way, right? You don't have to do 10,000 things to basically deploy your project to the network, right? So we have already built some of these extensions for you. Not only that, those who don't want to create their own network, we provide one DL test network for Ethereum, right? So you like Rinky by Robston and other test network, right? uh, you you don't have to use their network, we provide it for free. All those information is available in our tutorial that you will see it, right, on the bottom side of DL Unify dashboard page. So this is DL Unify services, right? Everything that I discussed, right, is basically a product in itself. We cannot cover in detail in this webinar, right? So just register it. Once you register it, you can play with this, and it will make your life easy, right? You can build your first D apps, right, or Web 3.0 apps within days, right? And this is where you can build your skill from job perspective also, and you can basically if you want to start up something on your own, right, you can use our platform, and we are supportive of that also. Any question on DL Unify before we move to the community piece?
Yes, sir. So one question that we got was, we have seen a rise in CBDCs, that is central bank digital currencies, interest and involvement in blockchain space in recent times. How is the industry looking at this?
So that is going to happen, right? So I know Chinese government has started. I mean, Chinese government is the one who started with this, right? And I think in India also, those who have attended the parliament session, right? Many of us don't. I came across for certain reasons. They will also use it, right? And it's not bad, right? If government authorities start bringing those kind of currencies, right, it is basically validating the technology itself, right? Not only technology but application of technology itself, right? So I think I see industry is seeing it as forthcoming, and it's a good step, right? It's not a bad sign, it's not a competition. It's a good step that we are getting validated. We are the government authority and institutions, right, they are also agreeing to not only the technology, blockchain technology, but the crypto aspect of it also. Any other question on this?
No, we have another question from the YouTube comment section. That is, who do you think the future of Web 3.0 belongs to? Shareholders of the company or the members of the DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization?
Great question, right? So now the organization, right? Currently, how organizations are built. Few people come together, they build the prototype, and then they get the funding, and then they build organization around it. But the equities and share remains with the founders and the VCs, right? And then once you go public, you start buying the shares. But in DAO kind of a world, decentralized autonomous organization kind of a world, uh, those kind of equities are defined by the smart. Sorry for that, guys. uh, so in case of a DAO, right, it is defined by a smart contract, right? Your equity is defined, the people who are basically building that company, right? So if I take a simple example, as a DAO, five people come, and say one person is say doing the development, other person is say doing testing, other person is building the community, one guy is basically doing the marketing, another guy is influencing, and all those things, right? So your smart contract says once a developer check in or complete his feature, right, I will give you a certain piece of equity, right? And another say once a quality engineer completes this testing and production has no bugs, right, product has no bugs after so many days, the QA person will be given a certain equity, right? If community brings 100 people to the product or the platform or something that you have built, then influencer will get a certain equity, right? So in this case, the equity is not owned by few people and the investor, right? Equity is owned by the people who are actually building that organization, right? So it's like a decentralized employees where there is no authority based on the work you do, and if your work is verified by the smart contract, you will get the equity in the company, right? So that's a very good question, and I think we have seen DAO is in action already, and I think in future you will see more and more organization following a DAO path rather than a traditional company structure path. Thanks for asking this question. This is a good question. Any other question, guys?
No, sir, nothing else.
Okay, so I will not bore much. So community piece is simple, right? The someone says DAO, right? So what it is, right? So this is where we also started seeing the value of building a community, right? So this is where we have opened our server, DLT Labs COE. I will send DL Unifi link and this link on the channel. Please share it with the participant, right? If you can put it on YouTube channel, if you are streaming it, put it there. But this is our Discord link, right? This will expire in 7 days. Please join this link. Once join, you will be part of all these channels. Assume that you are interested in Ethereum, right? You can go to Ethereum channel and see there are so many information coming around. You can go to Fabric, Polygon, Polkadot, right? If you have DL Unifi, right, you may come across so many things. If you are using our product DL Unifi, right, you may stuck. So you need a quick help, right? You can post your queries there, and then someone from the DL Unifi community can answer it, right? Failpass is our DeFi game, sorry, play to earn game, right? NFT, metaverse. We have so many channels going in, and we have just started, right? We just started. We have 270 people already joining our community, and we see this community growing to thousands of people by year end, right? So join this community. Some of these collaboration may turns up into startup or something good, right? One of you mentioned DAO, right? You never know which idea clicks, right? And people collaborate and start doing something. So this community is important. I request everyone who is who is part of this, who is watching this, use this Discord link to join. I will share that Discord link on this meeting, share it on across people. If link expired after 7 days, reach out to people that you know, and then we will give you a new invite link, right? So join this. We believe this community will bring good change, especially for people in India who can collaborate in person also. But this is open to all, right? So let me give you a couple of these links. These are important links, guys, and then we can take up a few questions in the last. Okay, so this is the Discord community link, and then I am giving you DL Unifi link also. Where it is, where it is. Okay, so yeah, so share. So I request organizers to share this link with the participants. Participants, please register on DL Unifi. There are so many services, you can get it for free as of now, and that will help you ramp up your career in blockchain. Not only that, if you want to build something, this will give you that launching platform also. Discord I already discussed. We see it, Web 3.0 is a world of community building, and this community, this is why we have created this community. And I think good things will come from this community, right? So please join this Discord channel also. So this is where I will put a pause on my presentation. I hope it was not a monologue. I can take a few questions now, please.
Sorry, sir, but we are kind of running short on time. So it was lovely talking to you. I'm sure all the participants understood a lot and learned a lot through this webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
We had a great time.
Yeah. Thank you, Malvika, Sushmita, Adil, Ranjit. Nice talking to you guys, and everyone who is listening to this on YouTube or other channels. Nice talking to some of you folks. Thank you. Bye bye.